Welcome back to another FPL video. This will be the final team selection for Gameweek 21. A lot has happened since the last team selection, and that's why I'm making this updated version to talk about the injuries to Jared Bowen and Trent, who are ruled out for Gameweek 21. I'll discuss the latest updates and talk about how long they're going to be out for, and also my new transfer plans, because I've got Salah and Son still, and I've also got these two key players in Trent and Bowen who are injured. So that's 4 players to deal with, and I've got 2 free transfers, luckily, but that's still not enough to solve all the issues, and I might need to take a -4 or a -8 hit. Stay tuned for the rest of the video to see what my transfer plans will be, and you'll see my definitive team in the deadline stream as well, where some details will be ironed out. And if this video gets to over 200 likes, there will be an updated free hit video, and yesterday we did upload a best wildcard video, an updated version as well, so you can check out the best alternatives for Bowen and Trent in that video too if you're playing the wildcard or you want to use some hits or make some transfers to optimize your team. But without further ado, let's jump straight into this video. I provide a detailed analysis on how I did in Gameweek 20 in my initial team selection video, which I uploaded a few days ago, so be sure to check that out. I'm going to go straight into it and talk about my lineup for Gameweek 21, and I'm going for Areola in goal, away to Sheffield United. My alternative is Dubravka at home to Manchester City, so there's no contest. Areola has the fixture and the form with 29 points in the last 3 game weeks in pretty tough games as well, by the way, against Arsenal, Man United and Brighton, and West Ham are looking quite solid defensively. They're a bit fortunate to keep clean sheets in some of these games, but Areola was a big reason why they did so, and he's looking very solid. And really, you've got Alisson, who's the only goalkeeper in front of Areola in terms of points scored amongst goalkeepers, a 3-point difference, but Areola still costs around 4.2 million, so there's no point going for another goalkeeper at this moment in time, and I'm quite happy to start him in Gameweek 21. All things considered, my defensive line looks good this week, starting with Saliba at home to Crystal Palace, and Arsenal have won the last 3 games against the Eagles with 2 clean sheets, both of them coming at Selhurst Park, and also a 4-1 victory at the Emirates last year. But Arsenal aren't in a good position right now. 1 win from the last 7 games in all competitions, and that was a clean sheet and a victory against Brighton and Hove Albion, but they should have won by 3, 4, potentially 5 goals, and their issue is they aren't taking their chances, and that always gives the opposition a chance to win the game. West Ham and Liverpool are 2 prime examples of being outplayed but sticking in there, Arsenal missing chances, and then West Ham and Liverpool punishing Arsenal for their missed opportunities. But Saliba is still a good FPL option in my opinion, and Arsenal have the best underlying defensive numbers, but in terms of clean sheets, Liverpool are getting more, and they look like the best defence to invest in right now. But that is where the issues lie, with Trent missing out for a couple of weeks. He could be out for 3 to 4 weeks. We don't know the full extent, of course, but the assistant manager for Liverpool did say it will be a couple of weeks, and that is all that we're going to get really before the deadline. Liverpool do play quite deep into Gameweek 21 around the 21st of January. The same goes for West Ham and the likes of Jared Bowen, and that's why there are some arguments to keep the likes of Trent and Bowen in your FPL teams. But I'm going to start Pedro Porro. My initial plan was to make a defender transfer and then bench Pedro Porro. That's something that I was thinking about after my initial team selection video, but I'm now forced to play Pedro Porro because my alternatives aren't that good, with Cash and Lascelles not looking too great, not just this week but also in the last couple, and Lascelles isn't a first choice centre back anymore. For Newcastle, Matty Cash did score in the FA Cup and gave Aston Villa the victory, but I'm still not convinced by Aston Villa defensively, and Matty Cash isn't really the first choice right back at this moment in time. My final defender is going to be Pervis Estupiñán. I'm looking to bring him in, that's for sure. It's just a question of, do I sell Cash, Lascelles or Trent Alexander-Arnold? I put a poll out on my YouTube channel, and most of you are suggesting to sell Trent Alexander-Arnold, but my initial thinking is to keep Trent and potentially sell Matty Cash instead, even if Cash looks better for Gameweek 21. One of the most off-form players right now is Bukayo Saka. He's got 1 goal in his last 4 Premier League games that came against Fulham, but his overall performances leave a lot to be desired, and against Liverpool he had an absolute shocker. He had chances to score or to put it on a plate for someone else like Kai Havertz, and Saka just isn't clicking. Normally one of his best attributes is his decision making, but he's not doing that right now. However, in his last home meeting against Crystal Palace, he scored twice and got an assist, and we're probably hoping for something similar in order to get a lot of FPL points in Gameweek 21. My second midfielder is Jared Bowen, and we did get an update by Jacob Steinberg, not only yesterday but also in the early hours of the Wednesday the 10th of January, and it looks like Bowen will be out for 2 to 3 weeks, and that means he'll miss Gameweek 21, but he should be available by Gameweek 22 or 23, and that means he could be worth holding on to. But for those of you like myself who have Salah, Son, Bowen and Trent, you still have to make some transfers transfers, and you might still want to sell Bowen as a result. But my current inclination is to keep him. I'm probably not expecting any minutes at all in Game Week 21 based on what Jacob Steinberg and other reliable journalists have said. But he's in the starting 11. I've got the likes of Archer to come off the bench, as you'll see very soon. And Bowen for me is still a hold, despite him being ruled out for Game Week 21. My third midfielder is Phil Foden. I'm looking to buy him in for Mohamed Salah, and he's facing Newcastle away, who have 20 expected goals conceded in the last 6 game weeks, and Foden has great fixtures and a potential double game week very soon as well. My fourth midfielder is Cole Palmer, who missed a couple of sitters against Middlesbrough in the first leg of the Carabao Cup, including an open goal, but he's still one of the best captaincy options on paper in Game Week 21. If I'm being quite honest, if Salah and Son and Bowen were all available, they would all be ahead of Palmer in this list, but now it's slim pickings and Palmer looks really appealing despite having an early kickoff, and we all know about that kickoff curse. And not only that, Chelsea are a very unreliable team, to say the least. My final midfielder is Pascal Gross. I'm looking to buy him in. It's between him, Richarlison and Diogo Jota for that final midfielder slot. And right now, I'm favouring the fixtures, the bonus points potential of Pascal Gross. He also got 2 assists in the last FA Cup meeting. Pervis Stupinian also scored in that very same game. And I think 1 or 2 Brighton players could be the play in Game Week 21. My forward line remains unscathed despite all the injuries flying around. Ollie Watkins away to Everton. I'll keep it simple. There's no need to sell him, and I think he's a season keeper, arguably. The only issue with that is if you want Salah, Son and Erling Haaland, you have to make some compromises. You can't have all of them, as well as Ollie Watkins and Trent at the back, and that's why there's more arguments to selling the likes of Trent in Game Week 21. But things change so quickly in FPL. Just a couple of weeks ago, Trent looked like the best FPL asset in the game. My second forward is Solanke, and the final player of the starting 11 facing Liverpool. And with all the injuries that Liverpool have at the back with Tsimikas, Robertson and Trent out, this could be a great opportunity here for Bournemouth to get a result, especially at home. And Bournemouth are one of the most informed teams in the country over the last 2 months, and Solanke is an integral part of that, scoring a bucket load of goals, only 1 blank in the last couple of weeks, which came in Game Week 20. But I still have a lot of confidence in Solanke despite the tough fixtures coming up. My bench would be Dubravka, Archer, Lascelles and Trent. That's my current thinking, to sell Matty Cash and keep Trent Alexander-Arnold, who could only be out for 1 game week. Now, there is a possibility of him missing 2 or 3, but I think that will be the maximum. And if you're asking myself personally, I'm very confident Trent will be available for that Arsenal fixture in Game Week 23. So that's what, 1 or 2 games that he's missing. And I know it's very expensive for a defender to have on your bench for a couple of weeks. It's a bit similar to Kieran Trippier with those tough fixtures, but I still think Trent is worth holding on to if possible. But this is with a -4 hit, by the way, bringing in Estupinian, Foden and Pascal Gross for Cash, Salah and Son. And you could make a case for keeping one of Salah or Son, especially with all the injuries flying around, and just having that security that you can just easily have them in for Game Week 25 onwards, especially if Liverpool double in Game Week 25, but they might also blank in Game Week 26. So there's a lot of arguments and debates about whether you should play the free hit in Game Week 25 or do you play it later in the season, such as Game Week 29, which could be one of the biggest blank game weeks of the season. But all that's left to determine with this 50-man squad is the captaincy. And I'm currently favouring Saka. Hear me out. He's not an ideal pick. He's off form. He's not showing enough. But there's a few reasons for this. He did very well against Crystal Palace in the last home meeting. We all know Saka's quality, and Arsenal are playing well. It's just a question of finishing and killing off the games, because in terms of build-up, Arsenal are still right up there amongst the best teams in the league, but they're not converting this domination, this possession and the chances into victories and goals scored. But I think Saka could change things. He's playing deep into the week, and Arsenal have a couple of weeks off in Dubai where they can refresh, reset and then go on a run in the second half of the season. Now with Cole Palmer, he's got better FPL form than Saka. There's no doubt about that. 3 returns in his last 6 games, and he also has 2 massive returns, a 14-pointer in there and an 18-pointer, which he did against Luton Town away. But Chelsea are very inconsistent, even more so than Arsenal. It's the early kickoff. It's also a West London derby. There's a few things that could go wrong there, but Palmer is still in my thoughts. He could still be my captain by the end of the week in the deadline stream. But for me, with all the injuries happening to Trent, Bowen and Salah and Son being unavailable, I think it's down to Saka or Palmer for the captaincy. If I had to pick anyone else from my 50-man squad, I would consider Phil Foden, but that's about it really, with all the injuries, suspensions and unavailable players. And I won't deny that things could change and this might not be my definitive team, but it's very close to what my Game Week 21 setup will be. It's just a question of, do I go for Gross, Richarlison or Jota for that final midfielder slot? I could also take a -8 hit and sell one of Bowen or Trent Alexander-Arnold. That could also play a part. I'm not a big fan of having Archer or Lascelles coming off my bench to replace Bowen and Trent Alexander-Arnold. So there's a few issues with my team. Even with a -4 hit, there are a lot of problems, and it's a bit unfortunate because I was pretty well set up with 2 free transfers to sell Salah and Son for free, but now I'm probably forced into hit territory, and some people are considering using the wildcard. I'm still looking to hold off for now. I'm not going to rule out the wildcard completely, to be honest though, with all the problems happening. Maybe 1 or 2 more injuries will push me over the edge and force a wildcard, but at this moment in time, a -4 or a -8 hit is very likely, and then it comes down to a few questions like the 5th midfielder, and also, do I keep Bowen or Trent? Using FPL.team, we can visualize future game weeks, and in Game Week 22, I can buy Erling Haaland back for Cameron Archer, as discussed in my initial team selection video. That hasn't changed, but it all depends on Erling Haaland's fitness. And just imagine if Trent, Bowen, and everyone else was available, I would have so many benching headaches in Game Week 22 anyways, because you look at Palmer, Lascelles, and Trent on my bench right now. Well, it would have been Trent starting, Saliba on the bench away to Nottingham Forest, Palmer still on the bench right now, but he might come on if Jarrod Bowen misses out in Game Week 22, and that's why I'm quite inclined to keep Jarrod Bowen. And if I had to sell one player out of Bowen or Trent, I'd be more inclined to sell Trent at this moment in time. But my provisional Game Week 22 team with my proposed transfers would be Ariel in goal, Pedro Porro, Estupinian and Saliba as the back three, a midfield four of Saka, Bowen, Gross and Foden, and a front three of Solanke, Watkins and Erling Haaland. This looks pretty good considering I take a -4 hit in Game Week 21 and use 1 free transfer in Game Week 22. My bench will be Dubravka, Palmer, Lascelles and Trent, and assuming there are no more injuries from now until Game Week 22, I would have Palmer come off the bench for Jarrod Bowen if the West Ham talisman misses out. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What are your transfer plans now with all the injuries to Bowen and Trent Alexander-Arnold? Remember, Trent will be sidelined for a couple of weeks due to a knee injury, and Bowen should be out for 2 to 3 weeks, which means he could be available for Game Week 22, and if not, Game Week 23, he's almost certainly going to be available for that fixture unless a setback happens. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to the 200 likes, and let's keep on pushing towards 23k subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, and the FPL League. All of that is there. I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 21 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.